Tayla, what's your response to what was actually posted about you online?
I happened to read the comments, and I think the reason I read them, I stumbled across it, and it was more of I wasn't upset or personally, I guess I didn't take it on board personally, but I read it as, if I'm getting these comments, and I kind of happened to see the little small profile picture of someone, and a couple of them had kids, young daughters in them, and I thought to myself, if I'm getting these and they don't know me, I'm really concerned what that shows about someone. It's behind a screen, I know, but like, you got to question if that's going to be something more. And if I can stand up here and say something about it and start the conversation, and if that helps one person or heaps of people, then that's what I want to do today.
How would you describe what was said about you?
So I was thinking about this through the day, and I think it needs to be understood that the comments about me playing footy, whether people think I can only kick 20 metres, please show me how far they can kick, and feel free to challenge me to kick outside 50, because I'm not worried about that. I'm fine with people commenting and critiquing my footy. I understand that is the football beast, but it's the comments that are just severely inappropriate, comments that my family will read and feel concerned for my safety, because these people are behind screens now, but there's no one saying that aren't going to show up at the footy on the weekend. And how do I identify if that was the person that made this vulgar comment directed at me? Because now I'm uncomfortable in my workspace. So I think that's the reason why, when I think about it, that is the reason why I'm standing up at the moment. I could push this aside, and I have the ability to, because it has not affected me personally, but I have decided that this is a platform that I can help other people, and I'm I guess someone that has the ability to stand up with my profile and my platform to make a difference. So that's what I'm doing today.
Tayla, should those people, should they be allowed to come to the footy this weekend? Because you can see their profile, we can see their names. Should they be allowed to turn up to the footy?
I think, I think the individuals that post this, if there's a way to see if they are football fans or if they're just people that are trolling, but if they are in the football community, they need to be called out. And this is what I'm saying by I genuinely consider that they might show up at the footy, and if they're thinking this way and able to write it down, look at it and think, oh yeah, I'm going to post this, this is something that I should do, and it's going to affect people but I don't care, what are they going to do when I'm on the sideline meeting some kids? Like that's what I'm going to have to think about now. And as much as it shouldn't be the case at all, and I would hate that anyone else would experience this, but that's the reality of it.
Tayla, the AFL said it's up to the public to kind of pull people into line and to kind of moderate. Do you think the AFL should take a stand and suspend those people?
I think the AFL has taken a stand by obviously showing their support for myself and then obviously the entire AFL community. If this was to happen to anyone else, I'm sure the same response would have happened. But I think the individuals aren't, I guess when you look at it broadly, the support that's come from this has been phenomenal, and I think that's shut down anyone who would have made a comment, and I'm sure they've probably shied away and probably thinking, well, I've mucked up here, but I'll hopefully not do it again. I guess that's all you can really ask, and it's not up to me to take further steps, but I can suggest that, and I'm sure everyone would like to suggest that, but realistically, the next steps are up to the AFL, and I'm sure that they'll make the right decision.
What do you say to the men in those photos who, as you rightly pointed out, have wives, daughters in their profile pictures with them? What do you say to those men who have used a keyboard to shame you as well?
Well, you have to wonder what is going through their head, and it's probably nothing. But I think, essentially, like, when people comment on things, and I wouldn't know because I'm not actually the kind of person that comments on something of someone just doing their job and playing footy and enjoying their life. I don't actually comment on things, so I wouldn't really know what they're thinking, but literally just consider that people are affected. It's not only me, like it's my mum and dad, my grandparents called me today who happened to see it they don't use Facebook, thank God, but they happen to see it on the news, and they're from Queensland, and if they're calling me and I haven't had the chance to let them know I'm all good, that's that's a few minutes that my nan and pop are upset and concerned for me, which I think is not okay. Like, for myself personally, I know I'm fine, but the fact that these people who don't matter to me at all and never will, nor their comments, are affecting my family, which I can't control how they're affected by it, but that's just, yeah, I guess that, and they don't think this. I know that they wouldn't comment and think, oh, I'm going to make her grandma upset, but they do. And that's something that, I guess if I could say anything, even though I wouldn't even want to, I don't want to speak to them, but anything would be a broad comment that you're just affecting more people than I'm sure you know.
Earlier today you referred to it as sexual abuse on social media. What is it about it that makes you think that that's what it is?
Yeah, that comment, I think, obviously only speaking for myself, and I can't speak for anyone else, but I felt, the way that I felt reading some of the stuff or seeing some of the stuff or the images screenshotted or anything like that, I saw it and I thought, this makes me uncomfortable. It's referring to my body, not what I was doing, which was playing footy. And I guess if there's ever a point where on social media there's sexual assault, if that's what I've chosen to call it, but I think it's that. I don't know if you can get much more. It was obviously quite graphic, and to read it and to feel uncomfortable beyond just kind of thinking, oh, and moving on, it was kind of like, oh, and then the thoughts kept going. I was kind of like, what if these people show up? And that's throughout the day. It wasn't initially. Like, as I've thought about it, and obviously as all the conversations started, I've kind of thought to myself, well, what comes of this and what could come of this? Hopefully nothing, and I'm confident nothing, obviously from the support since, but it could. And if I didn't call it out, these people think it's all right. And as I said, they might think it's okay to take the next step, because they haven't obviously stopped commenting and thinking these things. So how can anybody be sure that they're not going to actually take action on what they think?
Are you worried you might have emboldened some of these trolls? They kind of got something that they might have wanted, the photo taken down?
Well, I think the conversation is always don't give in to them and don't give them what they want, etc. But I think this is a separate issue. I don't think this is them telling me I'm no good at footy. This is them making comments and being suggestive and saying things and action. Like, the comments were things that I can't even say, like, repulsive things that obviously, if they took place, would be a phenomenal issue. Like, that's just not acceptable. So to even comment it and to suggest it is halfway there. So you have to pull people up like this. Again, I think comments about football and whether I did a poor kick, whatever, that's a completely different thing. But this is a whole different area. And this isn't, I've said it this morning, this isn't about me anymore. This is about the broader society stuff, which is, if I'm not going to say anything, then what about the people who don't have the platform to do it? That's why I'm.
And if you feel their view was to try and have the photo taken down and push it to one side, it's been an abject failure, because all it's done is put what is an iconic, majestic image out everywhere. So I think if that was what they set out to do, that's been a horrible failure. And in response to the photo being taken down, I think it's important to point out that the broadcaster's immediate response was one of protection. They took it down and recognised that error. And I think you'll find that's been put back up with an explanation on that. So I think it's important that that's pointed out, that Lewis Martin and I have spoken. He's acknowledged that it probably didn't send the right message, but it was one of protection, and I accept that when you read those comments, the first thing you want to do is protect somebody.
Tayla, what do you hope comes from this?
Well, change is the simple answer. I think from this, obviously a lot of people tolerate trolls. But I think they tolerate it. There's not much, there is a huge grey area with it. And I guess you need, where's the line, and where can we draw a line in the sand? Where can we pull people up and say, that's you making a comment about footy and that's you making a comment about something completely inappropriate? And that's what this scenario is. But I suppose all I can really hope for is that, obviously, that it stops. I'm not too optimistic that it will stop altogether immediately, but I am optimistic that hopefully at least a couple people can see or hear or have someone close to them say, you know what, let's stop with this, whether they see the comment on their newsfeed or whatever of a family member or a friend and they call them out and they feel like they can now because I've been able to start the conversation, then that's good.
Tayla, you've described the comments as sexual abuse. Will you make a complaint to Victoria Police?
I won't make a complaint.
Cain, you have a player next to you who is worried for his safety. These people are not nameless and faceless. They can be found through their accounts. Will Carlton check, number one, if they're members, and if so, will you take action?
Yeah, we've already blocked a number of users today, so we've certainly taken action. The reality is when you're in an environment like we are, we accept that we're in public positions and there'll be discussion around our performance at different times. And we accept that when it's done with respect. I think these comments were clearly sexually derogatory. There's no place for them. They're completely unacceptable. And as I said, we'll move to block anyone who intends on making any of those comments about any of our athletes, because as far as we're concerned, we're not interested in engaging with people like that.
What about their memberships, though? Because if these people are members of Carlton Football Club, will they be allowed to retain their membership?
Yeah, that's something. This has all happened very quickly, so we've moved to block these people. We'll have a look at that later.
Tayla, what do you think of the photo?
Well, it's pretty cool. I think that's how I kick, and I guess again in any workplace, if you are commended on your job, then you feel humbled by it and you feel that you've succeeded. So I feel like this image, and for it to be something the AFL, and obviously it's going to be used to promote AFLW, that's cool and that's awesome, and I'm very happy. I'm happy that it's me, but I'm happy that it's going to help give AFLW exposure and also promote AFLW.